Challenges of Islam. In this first part, we're going to cover the Western view of Islam, the constitutional components of Islam, the definition of Islam, and the author of the Qur'an, Allah. I credit the content of these slides to author Sam Solomon, taken from the chapter Challenges from Islam in the book Beyond Opinion, edited by Ravi Zacharias. Political Islam, radical Islam, moderate Islam, peaceful Islam, mystical Islam, folk Islam, and many other forms and permutations of Islam. All these titles lead us to the first major error of looking at Islam through the non-Islamic filters or glasses, and thus interpreting it and measuring it subjectively. We view Islam this way to our peril, overlooking the fact that the challenge is not only political or of a terrorist nature. Rather, as Islam advances in our society, it takes on new faces and new challenges not yet in view. The popular Western view of the word Islam, meaning peace, is neither accurate nor Quranic. Quranically speaking, Islam means submission or surrender, but certainly not peace by any definition. Looking at Surah 49:14, you have a piece of scripture there with the word surrendered. We have surrendered in Islam, for faith has not yet entered your hearts. Let's move on to the definition. Islam cannot be defined as a religion in the Western sense of the word, neither can it be termed a faith. Muslim scholars state that Islam is an all-encompassing system, socio-political, socio-religious, socio-economic, socio-educational, legislative, judiciary, and military system governing every aspect of the lives of its adherents, their relationships among themselves, and with those who are non-Muslims. What are the constitutional components? They are the Qur'an and the Sunnah. They're comprised even today in some Muslim countries such as Saudi Arabia, Iran, and the former Taliban regime, the equivalent of the national constitution. In all Muslim majority countries such as Egypt, Jordan, Malaysia, and Indonesia, family law for Muslim communities is based on Sharia law, which is derived from these constitutional components. Even with the participation of the U.S. government, the national constitutions of Iraq and Afghanistan are based on these components, in the sense that these constitutions cannot contradict Islamic law. So let us now briefly examine the basic constitutional ingredients of Islam and their makeup, the Quran and the Sunnah. Islam claims the book known as the Quran to be the final revelation of Allah to mankind through his last and final messenger, Muhammad, the seal of all the prophets. This revelation was given to Muhammad piecemeal over a period of 23 years through the angel Gabriel. These revelations came to Muhammad mostly in the form of dictated revelations by Gabriel. Here we just have a diagram of the authority of Islam stemming from Muhammad and Allah. We'll delve into this more as we go on. Unlike the Bible, the Quran has no historical authentic document that can witness to its literary reliability or to its historical authenticity. Its followers claim divine origin from the eternal tablet. They also claim that the Quran has come to perfect the Bible by adding to it. Yet the Quran's teachings contradict the very biblical teaching it claims to have come to complete. It does not teach anywhere the Ten Commandments, remains inconsistent with its own teaching, and at best portrays a totally different nature. And there is the character of its author, Allah. As described in the Quran, Allah is not a covenant-making God, for if he were to do that, it would diminish his absolute authority and might find him subject to his creatures due to such a covenant. As portrayed, he is master of deception. He contradicts himself and justifies that by calling it abrogation, meaning the replacement of earlier revelations with later ones as they were out of date and no longer applicable, all within a period of 23 years. Tawhid, the oneness of unity of Allah, is emphasized by repeated denials that Allah has no son, but it is not explained logically or philosophically in the Qur'an. All non-Muslims are Allah's enemies, with specific emphasis on Jews and Christians. He commands the followers of his prophet, whom he calls Muslims, to kill them and regard all non-Muslims as profane. He does not consider the golden rule. He never reveals himself as he is ultra-transcendent and unknowable. All the terminology in the Quran is allegedly revealed by Allah, whereby he has broken his treaty with non-Muslims forever, and has made the shedding of their blood legitimate. There are no absolutes with him. He has prepared a desired place for those who do his bidding, but with no certainty. In this place they would have their full share of sexual pleasures, including alternative lifestyles and beautiful virgins, specially created for the enjoyment of his slaves, as well as young handsome boys who will remain perpetually fresh, young, shining like pearls. In Islam, the highest sacrifice is not that of self-denial for the good of others, but self-sacrifice for the sake of Allah in killing his enemies. The benchmark of true believers is not their ability to love their enemies, but how much they can hate them, even if they are their own parents, children, brothers, or kinsmen. Allah has declared his enmity with them forever and ever if they resist him and Muhammad, his apostle.